Hi, guys. Welcome to Parawomenradio. I'm Amy. Ever since I started down my rabbit hole with the Chris Watts case and came up on Watts Island, I've wondered if and what did Chris Watts's family know about his mistress, Nichol Kessinger? And the burning question remains for me, what did Chris Watts's family know about his mistress, and what did she know about him? We know that Ronnie Watts is Chris was it well probably still is Chris Watts's dad and his best friend. So wouldn't a son talk about his best friend to his new love interest, and maybe wouldn't she listen and get to know more about his family? Well, tonight we will finally scratch that itch as we go into part 2 of our deep dive of Ronnie Lee Watts on Parawomenradio. Stay tuned for all the details while we wait for everyone to roll in. I'm going to roll some credits. Special shout out to my Power Replay team. You didn't think I could forget about you, did I? It's Friday, babies. Guys, welcome to Parawomenradio. I'm Amy.
Here where my soul bleeds openly, deep in the heart of sin and you. Here in the blue, I'm falling deep into you. Carefully strumming this old guitar again, words rolling out into our fire. If heaven had wings, I would steal them and fly away with you for a while. Here in the essence of gratitude, your dreamy little smile on my lips. I miss my cue, but baby, I had you. Miss my cue, but I had you for that day.
Woohoo! Here in the essence of gratitude on this Friday, I've got my power team. It is so good to see all of you. It's so good to see everybody in chat. I see the Cat's Life. The Cat's Life is going to be our July Dragonfly of the month. Congratulations, Cat's Life. And I see Chris C. She's our new wrench. And I see our beautiful Heavenly. I see our amazing J. Lord, Stephanie Carrison. I've seen some of our dragonflies in here. I've seen Candy and Candy McMurdo. I think I've seen other dragonflies in there. And if I missed anyone, I'm so sorry, but I see you and I'm so happy to have you here. How's everyone feeling today? Did everyone have a good Friday? Friday's my favorite day of the week. It doesn't matter. Even if I'm having a bad day, it's still Friday. I don't know. Hi, Carrie B. All right, so before we get going, if we could start that algorithm dance party that I like to do, just start warming up your fingers and dancing them right up to the hearts and thumbs up button. Helps us dance out into the algorithm. It's just a free way to help my channel out, and it's so appreciated. And if you like my content, be sure to subscribe. And when you subscribe, ring the bell for notifications of these lives. I want to say also a huge congrats to Cat's Life for becoming Dragonfly of the month for July. Cowboy RC was our Dragonfly of the month for June. The Power Dragonfly is our membership program on Power Woman YouTube. It's just an extra way to support my channel, and in supporting me, I try to give back by releasing my videos early to the Dragonflies, as well as membership only videos. I have special emojis and Dragonfly badges for the Dragonflies. We have a monthly drawing, and it's $2.99 a month. It's never going to change. It's always going to be $2.99 a month, and it's over on YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, we're coming to you today on YouTube, Twitch, and Instagram tonight. So hi everyone. Let's get into it. Let me share my page. Okay. So this rabbit hole of the Watts Island case. A few weeks ago, or maybe even last week, we were doing a live, and I said that I vaguely remembered a live that I watched where they were talking about the Watts family, and meaning Ronnie and Cindy Watts, that they knew about Nichol Kessinger, which is Chris Watts's mistress. They knew about her before all the news broke. And I always wondered, like, how much did they know about Nichol Kessinger? They must have known something, or Ronnie must have known something, because I mean, it's his best friend. I know Chris isn't a huge talker, but every so often you got to talk about it to somebody. And he had all these intense emotions going on. And there was that day in North Carolina when he went to his family's house alone. And well, it was on this day on 8/6/18, and he wrote this note. And this note really makes me wonder. It says, "To whom it may concern, if anyone gets this letter, I would never do anything to hurt myself or my children or my wife. If anything happens to me, please investigate my wife, Chris Watts." So on that day, I think more came out than, well, obviously more came out than what we know. And there's just little bits and pieces. And, all we can really do is read between the lines, or all I could with the information I've gotten. But in doing this research, I also had these thoughts, and I want you guys to think about this, because I've said this over and over. And like, we've said it, like, did Chris, I've said, I believe that Chris took the plea deal because he didn't want his bad behavior out for his family. But it dawned on me, Chris Watts probably didn't want his family's bad behavior out in the world, meaning that every family has bad behavior, right? Secrets and privacy and things that we do behind closed doors. And what did he take the plea deal to also spare his family the indignity of having it? Because I mean, they have been investigated, right? Because here we are doing a deep dive on Ronnie Watts. But I think that if he had opened that Pandora's box, we would have known more we would know more about the family and what was going, the inner dynamics and everything. So I think another reason he did the plea deal, and it's so, like, I don't know why this was like such an aha moment for me, but it was to protect his family. And doing it, I also always said to myself, why didn't Cindy come to Colorado? Why, when Chris said, I think it's getting bad, and Cindy was like, should we come? And he's like, no, send dad. And I've always said, like, why didn't Cindy go? I would have went. But in thinking about it, I wasn't part of their inner dynamics. And their inner dynamics probably were that because Ronnie was the BFF, that their game plan and even dealing with him as a child was to send Ronnie in, right? Because when Cindy goes in, he just clams up. So send in the best friend and get the info. So maybe that's another reason why, Ronnie went. And, not to mention, I'm sure Cindy likes to make us think that she was calm and cool, but I mean, I'm sure she was near nervous breakdown capacity. I know I would have been, but so here we have this letter, and this letter has taken me down this path. And continuing the research, I like to go over to Reddit. Reddit's one of my favorite places. I found this, and it says something doesn't add up. On 8/6/18, while still in North Carolina, Chris Watts wrote the following letter, and it's the letter that he just wrote, to whom it may concern. He then left the letter with his sister while visiting his family that same day, but his sister and parents all describe him during this visit as being very happy and optimistic about the future. We finally saw the Christopher that we loved, said his mother, the old Chris. He was so happy. He talked about the girls. He didn't really mention the baby that much. He told his family that he wanted a separation from Shanann and would soon file for joint custody of Bella and Celeste. He seemed optimistic for the future, as if a huge weight had been lifted from his shoulders. His sister said that it was the first time she had seen his brother that happy in years. And this was from The Perfect Father by John Glatt. And how did his family description of a happy, optimistic Chris Watts accord with him being so in fear for his life that he writes a letter saying, if anything happens to me, please investigate my wife. Something doesn't add up. No, something does not add up. A lot doesn't add up in this case. And in that happy, optimistic day, did Chris Watts talk about his new love, Nichol Kessinger? What do you guys think? Did he talk about her? This Reddit person goes on to say, now, before anyone says this letter is a fake written by some random internet person, the Watts themselves have said Chris wrote this letter and left it with Jamie. And then they have a link, and I will link this. I will link everything that we read and watch and view in the description. I often will not read everything in its entirety or watch everything, or I'll speed it up. And this is for fair play use, and I must do that. But I will put all the links for you. And I get if you just want to do it all by yourself and just watch something without my voiceover. But this is what we do in our lives, and it's the reason we do them, and it's for fair play, and it makes everything cool and copacetic with YouTube. So at the end of the segment, the reporter says the family told them about the letter. There's a letter that they say the defense has. He said in it, he wrote, if anything happens to me, blah, 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 blah. And apparently Chris's sister put that away somewhere, and it supports the case about their contention that Shanann was unstable. And so there's the letter. And in that day, I think stuff probably was said about Nichol Kessinger. And was Nichol Kessinger introduced to the family that day? Because Chris loved to be on the phone with Nichol Kessinger. Do you think maybe he pulled up the phone and said, oh, hey, here, let's do a little FaceTime, I don't know. Let's move on. Still over on Reddit. This person says, is it just me or did Chris Watts' father, Ronnie Watts, not even bat an eyelid when Chris said, they know I had an affair? After he took the polygraph, wouldn't Ronnie have said, what, you had an affair? With who? If he didn't know, he didn't say anything. Would you, if this was news to you that your son was having an affair, and on top of everything, wouldn't you have been like, what? An affair? Yeah, just like I said, with who? What do you mean? And then in the comments, they go on, they say, that was my initial reaction too. I figured he'd already told them in North Carolina, or at least when Chris Watts picked his dad up from the airport. On the other hand, the whole family doesn't seem to have a full range of emotions. So, and this is true too, the family is very, they hold their emotions tight to the, what is that? Tight to the cuff? Tight to the chest? I don't know what that is, but they hold it tight to themselves. They don't show themselves very easily. So I could honestly see his dad having little or no reaction to being told that Chris Watts had an affair, especially since that would be an offense against Shanann, not Chris. Basically, that was probably Ronnie's genuine reaction to the news, whether he first heard it in the interrogation room or somewhere else. For me, I think Ronnie knew. Maybe the mom, Cindy, didn't know. Maybe she didn't know. But I think for sure Ronnie knew. Let me pop over into chat and see what you guys are saying about this, because I'm very curious. Sarah says, poor Ronnie was blindsided. Yeah, that whole family. I mean, at first I had no sadness for them, but in thinking about it, I have so much sadness for them. And yes, that whole family and what he continues to do to that family angers me. Didn't you see the interview when Cindy talks about him telling them? No, actually, I didn't see that interview. Which interview is it? Because there were interviews that they've done that's been taken down because channels have been taken down. Is that what, or was it a news interview? Hi, Sarah B. Thunder Chick said, I don't think he intended at the start to unalive his wife, and that letter is cause he knew when he mentioned divorce that Shanann would go mad. He knew his wife well enough to know what she would be like. But he went there. He went there to, like, if something happens to me. I don't know. The letter also makes me think that there was a plan, like Nichol Kessinger or whoever, if there were more. If Nicole, this is all alleged, this is all my opinion, my research. It's for educational and entertainment purposes only. None of this is fact because it's just my opinion. But I don't know. I lost my train of thought when I had to throw that little disclaimer in there. Sorry, you guys. I just think that, I don't know. I just think that the dad had to have known, but now J Lord is saying that there's an interview out there that Cindy was saying that they knew. So I would, let me scan just quickly to see if J Lord had replied. Not yet. Okay, I haven't seen them reply yet. Okay, let's keep going. Let me get my screen back up there. I found this short little video. Chris Watts, did his dad Ronnie already know about Nichol Kessinger? I'm going to have to mute the audio because it's video with they type over it. So Chris and Ronnie Watts have a strong bond between father and son. So it's basically saying some of the same things that I am saying. They have this bond. Chris Watts looked up to his dad and told him everything. After Chris was told he failed the polygraph, his father entered the room. If you listen carefully, you'll hear Chris tell his dad, "They know I had an affair." It sounds like he's confirming with his dad about the affair, not telling him something he did not know.
Is there any reason why they shouldn't? It's another thing. They know I had an affair. They know. I can't think about that.
I came clean about that. So it sounds like they knew. If I overheard someone having this conversation, I would have definitely thought he knew. But now it is possibly confirmed that Cindy said that they knew.
Anybody had an affair? Anything else you want to tell me?
So they bring up that if Chris had already told his dad about Nichol Kessinger, then did Chris then tell Nichol that his dad knew about her? So were Chris and Kessinger planning a new life together? Planned on the Saturday, the 11th of August, planning a diabolical act to have a life together. Was that the big planning meeting at the Lazy Dog? Is this why Kessinger Googled Ronnie Watts after Chris and her met at the infamous Lazy Dog? Did Chris tell? I don't know. Why do you think she Googled him? Was this the first time Nichol Kessinger had heard about his family? I don't believe that. What was her purpose for Googling his dad? Let me see what you guys are saying. Desiree says, supposedly Cindy was really against affairs. Oh, that's interesting. So if that's true, then wouldn't he have probably just told his dad? I mean, I think a lot of us are really against affairs. Just get a divorce. Don't do that to your person. Just get a divorce. J Lord said they didn't approve of affairs. I mean, what parents really do? I mean, besides Gypsy Rose Blanchard's stepmother, parents don't generally approve of affairs, right? So Sarah B says, I think his family suspected he might have been seeing someone, but I do not think they knew the details. Interesting. It's so interesting to think what all of you think about this. Let's keep going. So Chris Watts' mom and dad and the mistress. This creator delved into a little bit of this same topic. It's crime-spiracy.
Since Chris Watts pleaded guilty to the murder of his pregnant wife Shannan and her 2 daughters, his impending trial has now been halted, giving opportunity for those involved in the case to speak out. Chris's parents, Ronnie and Cindy Watts, made the controversial move to be interviewed by Denver 7 News. Cindy Watts is...
Do you guys think that was a smart move for the parents to do interviews? I think that it might have been smart to wait until maybe the nerves weren't so raw, but I think they did want to go and defend their son for whatever it was worth. I think it was just adding fuel to the fire, but I don't know. I think this would have been a better situation to do what saying that we support you instead of doing it in so much in the victim statement. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
Concerned that Chris made the guilty plea in a bid to save his life and believes he has been coerced into the plea by his legal team. Ronnie believes there is some credence to his son's account that Shanann murdered her own children. Ronnie said about Shanann, "You have to get to know her, be around."
And this was the point where I was like, ooh, Ronnie can be very itchy and ouchy too. Everyone's like, oh, Ronnie's so sweet. Ronnie's like, but I mean, to smack that down on national television, boom. Wow.
Her, put it like that. They insist that Watts loved his children too much to harm them. The interview prompted Shanann.
It breaks my heart that they defended him in this way. And to this day, he still won't just tell them the truth. It just breaks my heart for them.
Shannann's family to release the following statement.
But as much as I see, like, I get wanting to defend your child. I get it.
Monday evening, the parents of Chris Watts gave an interview in which they attempted to defend their son. In doing so, they felt the need to make vicious, grotesque, and utterly false statements about Shanann. Their false statements, however hurtful and inaccurate, will never alter the truth about Shanann, and will never alter the truth about the crimes committed by their son, Chris. The concealment of the autopsy reports of Shanann and the children has in a way sugar-coated the severity of the crime.
I just really wish that he hadn't sealed the reports on the children.
Attorney for the case, Michael Rook, has stated that a partial motive...
Okay, this isn't what I thought it was. Let's move on. So let's flip it over and start looking at a little bit about Nichol Kessinger and what she might have known about the Watts. Okay. And I thought this was very interesting. It was called A Tale of Two Daddies, Watts and Kessinger. They each pick the door their child walks through. Why?
Shanann, Bella, Cece, and Nico. And perhaps we'll never know, because regardless of what Daddy Kessinger thought of her guilt or innocence, Daddy Kessinger may know to the extent...
Oops, sorry.
A tale of two daddies. You've got Daddy Kessinger and you've got Daddy Watts. Now, we don't know to the extent Kessinger was involved in the murders of Shanann, Bella, Cece, and Nico. And perhaps we'll never know, because regardless of what Daddy Kessinger thought of her guilt or innocence, Daddy Kessinger made sure that she didn't get, her phone records analysed. He got her out of the interrogations and she got away practically scot-free to live her life. And Daddy Watts, on the other hand, facilitated putting his son away. And it just seems, for all intents and purposes, unless you believe that Ronnie Watts is an absolute idiot, it seems for all intents and purposes that Daddy Watts wanted Christopher Watts, his murderous son, put away in the slammer where he couldn't hurt another soul. Doesn't it seem like...
What do you think? Do you think the reason that Ronnie didn't ask for a lawyer was because he wanted his son, he wanted the truth, like he just wanted the truth and he didn't care if his son was guilty? Fine, he's guilty, let's figure this out. Do you think that's why they didn't ask for a lawyer? Or I think they really didn't think he did anything, really. But I don't think they could have fathomed that their son did what he did. But just like, you guys, if anything ever happens to you and you need to go to speak with the police, just get a lawyer. Just lawyer. It's just nothing to say I want a lawyer. Just so much easier to get a lawyer, right? Just say I want a lawyer.
The case. Now, it seems pretty obvious that he knew about the affair with Nichol Kessinger, but it also seems like Daddy Watts didn't try to help Chris get out of the situation he was in. Chris was in quite a pickle, wasn't he? But he didn't need to do the polygraph. He didn't need to confess to Dad.
And that's another thing. If Ronnie knew anything, I mean, he wasn't urging Chris to hide anything. That's for sure. So I don't know. That makes me think that maybe they didn't know about the affair because like, wouldn't he have already said, did you tell him about the affair? Like asking them the question. I don't know. I'm going back and forth in front of you guys. Sorry. This is what I do with this case. It just makes me think this, and I think like, oh, well, this, and then I weigh it out in my brain, and then I turn this way, and I'm like, oh, well, maybe it's this, and then I come to you guys, and you guys say, no, it's this. And I'm like, oh, goodness. So here we have, moving on. Well, let me see what you guys are saying. Thunderchick says, I'll never understand why Ronnie didn't tell Chris to get a lawyer. That would be the first thing I would tell my son. Yeah, I'll never understand that either. Candy says, or Chris says, Candy, I believe she didn't have anything to do with the act either. However, I do believe she might have put a little birdie in his ear. Yes, I think that if she didn't have anything to do with it, then at the very least, the birdie was in the ear. I don't know. I'm like 90% where she didn't have anything to do with it. Some days I'm at 80. I don't know. I go all over the place. I just really wish I knew more about her. J Lord says they knew he met someone, but nothing else. Smarzy says she even started calling herself Shanann. Her family still called her Shannon. Her real name, I think she thought it was more catchy or remarkable. I don't know. It is kind of strange. When people say that they've changed their name, like their first name, I'm just like, it's very interesting to me. I don't know quite how to gauge people when they say that. But she didn't change the spelling. She just changed the way it's said. Like, I guess it was Shanann her family was a big fan of Shanann. What was that? Shanann. What is that? Do you know what I'm trying to say? It was like from the 70s or 80s. It was like, I think it was this group. I don't know. I knew it in my mind, but when I'm trying to say it out loud, it was Bowser, Shanananan. and they named her Shanann because it was, I don't know, something from some group. I see him in my face. He's like this greaser, and he wore these cigarettes in his t-shirt, arm sleeve, Bowser, Shananana. Yes, I'm probably just not saying it right, but this. And so they named her Shanann. And Shanann decided she wanted to be Shanann. So there you have it. No, she didn't change it to that spelling use because I have a little thing that I found where she has this from when she was like in the 3rd or 4th grade, and she got her drawing in this newspaper, and it's spelled exactly how she spells it. She just changed the way you say it. So, but we know that Nichol Kessinger, she had a suspicious search history anyway, and
it's me.
every chance I get to do that laugh, I got to do it. So Kessinger searched the internet for the name Shanann Watts on September 1st, 2017.
Call me back when you have a chance. Bye.
So I just want to know how you met him, where you met him, how long you guys were dating, and those kind of things initially.
Okay. I think I met him sometime in June, probably early June. It might have been May. It was just talking at work. It was pretty casual. And he didn't have a wedding ring on his finger. And every time I talked to him, he didn't tell me that he was in a relationship. He didn't even mention his kids right away either.
And so in all of this, did he not talk about his father, his best friend? I'm sure he did. I'm like almost 99% positive he did. And I'm sure he dropped stories about his mom and his sister. I'm sure he did. That's what you do when you're first meeting someone. They get to know you and your family.
And then one day he told me that he had 2 kids. I was like, that's pretty cool. And started telling me about his kids.
That sounded like a sarcastic comment.
No, I thought it was kind of cute. I was like, oh, he's
here, they're showing all these places where they went. Like here, Kessinger went to Bandamere and the Rooftop Tavern. I mean, all these long.
Yeah, and it was like right around Father's Day too.
Together, so many hours together. I mean, there's, we know they did a lot of effing, but I mean, there's only so much effing you can do. And then there's talking that you do too. And sometimes you're even doing the talking when you're effing. So I'm sure in all these long car rides to all these places, I'm sure of it.
Ooh, so whenever that is in June.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm not good with holidays.
He told me he had kids, and then it was Father's Day shortly after that. So that's what I do now. And I was like, I thought it was cute. And then, he's telling me about him. He's pretty excited about him. And then he mentioned that
here, Shanann called Watts and held a 23-minute conversation. During that conversation, Kessinger called Watts and left a voicemail following an eerie, that discording giggle. Why do you think she did that giggle? I miss your face. I was just calling to say hi. Call me back. Immediately after ending his call with Shanann, Watts called Kessinger briefly. So that voicemail got him to call her back right away.
he did have a significant other. And then he told me that those 2 were in the process of a separation.
Did he mention the children's name or his significant other's name?
I didn't know his significant other's name for a while. And then I think he told me his kids' names pretty quick, but to be honest with you, on an exact date of when that happened, I don't know. And I just feel like some of this happened so long ago that I can't tell you like the exact words of the exact conversation at the exact time and place, because it's like we had a lot of conversations. I mean, we talked every single day. So it's like I'm trying to help you guys with the stuff, like the stuff that's more current. I can give you guys a lot more like detail and exact times. When you're asking me about something that happened 6 weeks ago and exactly what was said, it's like, I mean, I'm sure I can give you a general idea, but to be honest with you, like to pinpoint exact words, it's not gonna.
Did you ever give them like books or articles or anything to read about saving your marriage? Did you ever provide anything to him like that?
About saving his marriage?
Yeah, like how to recover a marriage.
Here she's Googling for Watts and Shanann's Facebook accounts. This was when this prompted Chris to delete his Facebook.
Marriage or how to save your marriage. You know, there's all sorts of publications and books out there.
No, but I did tell him, and I don't know if I did this through text or phone. That will be something you guys will, I'm sure, figure out. But I told him a few times, like, I think that you should take the time to read some articles about what separation does to kids.
We want to show that you were never near him that day, period.
I mean, you guys can track.
I mean, they never did that. They never proved anything about Nichol Kessinger. It's just all this evidence. I just would like to know about her. But in this one, in anticipation for her evening with Watts, Kessinger spent 45 minutes searching Google on topics like how to prepare for butt sex and the butt sex guide. This progressed to searches at P-Hub for interracial P videos and threesomes with double stuff Oreos. Just kidding. I don't know. It's hard to like mix in things that YouTube will be okay with. This was by no means the only time she sought out pornographic videos via the internet. So was she feeling like she was losing them and she was going to, throw in some interracial action? It's so interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that was something.
These are the ones that they probably, like, she probably did delete this and they just were able to pull it off. Like, if she hadn't deleted everything, can you imagine what we would have got out of her phone?
Then we will have to get a warrant for anyways. I'm just saying, if we asked for it, would you have any objections to that?
No, you can have it.
So,
I'm a pretty boring person.
Well, it sounds like you just went to work that day and then you.
When people say things like that, they're not boring. They're undercover. Something's going on. I'm boring. I don't drink. I don't do anything. Okay.
Came home and you're there at 3:45.
Yeah, like give or take.
Actually, that's kind of me, except I do I do the devil's lettuce. So that's what I do these days. It helps my anxiety and my pain. But and I did notice, I feel like I'm coming back to life because I feel like I want to get back out into the world. I'm feeling like I might want to like meet with friends and maybe do something. I haven't done that in a really long time. But I don't mean to say everybody who says that they're boring aren't boring, but it does make me wonder when people like say it over and over, like, I'm just boring. I'm boring. I don't do anything. I'm boring. I'm boring. Okay. What are you doing?
Like 5 minutes, but yeah, so 3:45. I meet Jim there. Yeah, I would
and
totally.
So Jim is understand from an investigative point, he could be a person who could say, yeah, I was there at 3:45. He doesn't know Chris. He doesn't know anything. He could say with one phone call, yeah, she came in at 3:45. Done.
Totally.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I don't have to ask anything more than, hi, Chris, my name's Kevin. Or Jim. And I'm not saying you have to go to Jim.
Just leave Jim alone. Jim does not need to be wrapped up in this.
If at some point I needed Jim's info to, let's say we couldn't find your phone records. Would
You
tell
can
me who
have
Jim
them.
is?
I will give them to you.
Would you tell me who Jim was?
So she gave the phone records up because she wanted them to leave Jim alone. Leave Jim alone. Just leave Jim out of this. It's one of my favorite quotes from this whole thing. Leave Jim alone. Y'all, they could still retrieve that off her hard drive. The SIM card is irrevocable. What are you guys talking about? Oh, thank you, Smarzy. She thinks she's being cute when she does that laugh. She doesn't realize that it sounds demonic. I mean, who in their right mind thinks calling their boyfriend going, I miss your voice. Call me back. If I got that message, I'd be like, what has my life come to? What am I doing with my life here? Is this what I've chosen? No. But I don't know. Hindsight is 2020, right? In having that woman on the UFO person, she talked about how, like, if we were sent back in time, we would be shiny people, meaning we would be gods. But we would be people that would look at like we knew more than the average duck, right? Like, how do you know that? So hindsight is truly 2020. Let's keep going, shall we? So popping back, Ronnie Watts, I don't have a whole lot on what Nichol Kessinger knew about the family. But here we have Ronnie Watts believes Chris's first confession, questions Nicole's paternity. Oh, wait, no, sorry. That's not the right one. I'm sorry. Here we have K-Dad Chris Watts tried to blame mistress for murdering his family. And I have heard the Watts kind of talk about like maybe NK was involved, or I thought I did. I don't know. But a former cellmate of Chris Watts has claimed that the convicted murderer tried to point the finger at his mistress for the murder of his pregnant wife and 2 daughters. Chris Watts tried to blame the callous murder of his 2 young daughters on his mistress, a former inmate who says he spent time with him in prison and told the U.S. Sun. Watts, 36, is currently serving 5 life sentences. At first, Watts cynically acted the concerned husband and father when Shanann and the girls went missing after failing a polygraph test. So when all came to push to shove, do you think that the family started asking, like, was Nicole, who else was involved? I think the best evidence that we have that she probably could have been involved, might have been involved, is this infamous evidence where we see Chris walking back and forth, and it seemingly looks like he's got a female gait to him. It kind of reminds me of Bigfoot evidence when we're, sitting looking, watching at Bigfoot and watching the gait and like saying that's a female Bigfoot. No, that's a male Bigfoot. No, the gait isn't a male gait. That couldn't have been a female gait. And so in seeing this evidence, for me, this makes me wonder. And also the long conversations and the pinging. Sorry. Let me pop it over to here. To take the music off. So it's this evidence. It's the nosy Nate's evidence, his camera, where we see Watts walking back and forth. And at times they have said, I have heard people say they see ponytails, they see her purse. And yeah, I kind of can see it, but it's like pixelated. It's so hard to see anything. But this evidence when this evidence first came out, this person said, well, I see a little shadow, the little shadow of Bella or Cece, I think it was Bella, running out, and Chris picking the child up and you can't see it all, but you can see the shadow. And so that's why I think maybe she was there. But again, this is so pixelated that it's hard to know anything. Here, watch Chris Watts reach just before he steps into the garage as though he's reaching for an object someone is handing him. He does reach for something. And he has said he doesn't know why he took the gas can. Was someone in the garage saying, here, take this? What do you guys think? Let me see what you guys are saying. She pinged within 30 minutes of the house. Yeah, she did. And that was like the only time that she pinged. Yes. Rest in peace to the little angels for sure. And Shanann. The victims in this. The true victims in this. But I don't know. The families are victims too. Breaks my heart to see what they're all going through. History Channel says he was probably going to burn the bodies, yeah, or blow up the oil tanks so that there was some kind of explosion. Smarzy says, no way all that was accomplished out there by one person in 37 minutes. Yeah, that's another thing. Good point. That how did Chris Watts do that in such a short amount of time? And he's not like the smartest guy. Although, I mean, he is a guy that, I don't know. He's very smart book-wise, but otherwise, direction-wise, I don't know. He's always seemed to been someone that needed direction and took direction. Jim may have been with NK talking SW Body for taking SW Body to Survey 319. So you don't think that she was on the floorboards of the car or the truck, I mean? We know NK was there. What about just Jim? Yeah. That's why I always say, like, if NK and, like, who else? I can't say NK or who else. Yes, please be sure to press the thumbs up button for me, guys. Helps me dance out into that algorithm. Yeah, no, what am I saying? He was a tool. He is a tool. He remains a tool. He's somebody else's tool in prison, I'm sure. And I'm sure that, like, just terrifies his family. Yeah, Cece was so cute. They were both just so adorable. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right. Not 30 feet, 30 minutes. If I went on with the 30 feet, it was 30 minutes. Sorry. Not 30 feet. Okay. Let's keep going. I'm lost where I am, though.
And let's hear what Graham Coder and Tammy Lee are saying about what they think happened that awful morning.
Like, there's nothing, just because I
Chris, people can be pushed to the point where they do something that they regret. It happens every single day.
I know.
But part of what makes you a man is the guy that goes, really fucked up, but this is what I did, and I'm going to pay for what I did, and I'm going to tell you what I did, and I'm going to be honest about it.
Chris, we can keep talking to you once we find these girls, okay? So once we find these girls and your wife, right? No matter how we find them, no matter what condition they're in, we can keep talking.
How old was Chris when he met Shanann? I don't remember off the top of my head.
Talking to you, you can tell us, guys, it's not as bad as it looks. And you can say, let me tell you what happened. I was never comfortable with you, Graham, or with you, Tammy. I wasn't comfortable yet. But now that everything's known, now that the girls are found and Shanann's found, however they're found, it's okay. We can keep talking to you. Okay?
Chris, did Shanann do something to them?
No, I don't know.
I'm serious.
I have no clue.
Crazy.
You would have known, because they didn't leave the house. Did Shanann do something to them, and then did you feel like you had to do something to Shanann?
They were at the house when
A light bulb should be right here. Bing!
I left. They were there.
They weren't there. They didn't leave. They vanished.
They were there.
The only way they could have left is in your truck.
There's no way, because, like, I didn't just throw them in my truck.
You know your truck has GPS,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Because you told your boss, like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm going to celebration, I'm maybe staying at a friend's house, whatever. You know that thing pings every 10 seconds?
Yep.
So we will know exactly where you went.
And your company's giving that to us.
So there, you heard Colorado Bureau of Investigation's Tammy Lee say it herself. She knows that Shanann, Bella, and Celeste left in Chris Watts' work truck. The investigators know that. There's really no other way they could have left unless they left through the back, which some people keep open as a possibility, and we really cannot rule it out since this case was not.
How would they leave through the back, though? You can't lock the sliding door from the outside, so somebody would have had to been in the inside to lock it. And or I have heard people say that window by where the Mickey Mouse blanket was, that I have heard people say that they went in and out of that window. Like somebody said they saw Chris doing that, I think, while Shanann was away.
Investigated. The question I have regarding the evidence that is presented in the discovery documents is if Tammy Lee and the investigators knew or felt they knew that the family left in Chris Watts' work truck, then why did they handle the evidence that was taken from Chris Watts' work truck in the way that they ultimately did? Let me explain. In the discovery, there's a detailed description of how each vehicle was handled, both Shanann's Lexus and Chris Watts' work truck, the Ford F-250. So we're particularly interested in this part under scene investigation and vehicles. It says on Tuesday, August 21st, 2018 at 1600 hours, myself and FSK Henson arrived at a certain location to process and execute a search warrant for the two vehicles which possibly had been used to transport the deceased victims in the case. So going down to the third paragraph, after a brief discussion, it was decided that CBI would photograph, collect, and package all evidence located. CBI would also use adhesive-based rollers and collect any possible hairs, fibers, and other trace evidence from the Ford truck in an attempt to determine any recent possible occupants of the vehicle. What I find to be of particular interest is the notation that the adhesive rollers collecting evidence also.
I do find it interesting too. Like, okay, so let's go back, and we just talked about Smarzy had said that they didn't think that Shanann was transported in this truck. And if she was in this truck, so hold on, I got a cough real quick. Okay, she would have been put right in here, and it would have like, this must flip up, right? So she was like probably placed half here and half here. Is that what I'm assuming? If this is what happened, I'm sure I don't have a truck like this, but how would he have gotten her in this back section, this tiny space here, unless this must flip up? I'm sure it flips up.
That the adhesive rollers collecting evidence, also known, guys, is trace lips.
A pregnant woman with dead weight. I don't know. Did he drag her out on garbage bags? How did he? I don't know. That's another live, I'm sure.
Was for the purpose of detecting any possible passengers or people that were transported in that vehicle. So, given that Tammy Lee herself told us and told Chris Watts that one thing she knew was that Shanann, Bella, and Celeste were transported away from their house, 2825 Saratoga Trail, in his work truck, you would think that they would want to collect all evidence and analyze all possible evidence related to Chris Watts' work truck. Wouldn't you think?
I definitely would think, but they just ended it as soon as Chris said he did it. They were like, case closed. Hey, J Lord, do you think you could link me or send me that video that that interview that you're talking about with Cindy Watts? My email is parawomenradio@gmail.com, or when this live is done, you'll be able to leave comments, and I think you could probably put it in the comments, but I really would like to take a look at that. Oops, hold on. I pressed something that's going to start going any second. Yeah, so I would really like to take a look at it. So this was the rabbit hole that I went down on. I don't think there's a lot of information out there, but I think it is important to look at because it kind of shapes the story, in my opinion. And I don't know, I'm just somebody who wants to know it all. You're a lifelong Clearwater resident, J Lord? I'm a Florida person too, but I'm a Florida person by way of Michigan. I grew up in Michigan, pure Michigan. So what do you guys think with the evidence that I have presented you tonight? I like to just present the evidence that I find and then let you guys decide for yourself. I'm not here to tell you how to think or what to think. And I think the beauty of this channel is that you're allowed to think however you want to think, as long as you're respectful about it. So, yeah. Northern Ireland. Woohoo! I've always wanted to go to Ireland. I mean, who wouldn't want to go to the Emerald, the land of the Emerald? Is it Emerald Mountains, or what do you guys have? And you have everything. Gosh, Ireland is so beautiful. Anyway. I'll get off of the Ireland kick. I had I've always had pen pals. I don't have one right now, but growing up, I had a pen pal from Ireland, and then she moved to Scotland when I was in college. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, fond memories of that. You want to go to Ireland too, Chris C? Yeah. Yeah, it's really hot everywhere, isn't it? It's just so freaking hot everywhere. I hope everyone's staying cool. Well, all across the United States. I don't know if there's high temperatures in other countries right now. I'm just so freaking disappointed about our country right now. The presidential thing is coming up, and I just hate it. I hate both of them. I hate both of the people, the candidates. Like, you can vote for old guy number 1 behind door number 1, or old guy number 2 behind door number 2. They're both dangerous for different reasons. And so I guess we're going to have to weigh out the dangers. Who is less dangerous? I can't stand it. Oh, you guys, election time, I get very agitated, but I think the best thing for us is just to wipe the slate and just get new presidential candidates. I have a funny one about one of the ones that keeps running. I think she keeps running for the Democratic, Marianne Williamson. When I lived in Michigan, I went to this Unitarian Unity Church in Warren, Michigan, and she became, like, I don't know what Unitarian, the lead pastor, or the leader of the church, and it didn't go so well for her. But I only went like a few times, and I would only go when there were like celebrity guest speakers, like the guy who wrote, like, Leo. He wrote the books about love. Leo, I could never say his last name. And Wayne Dyer. I took a few lectures. Like, I was a weird kid growing up, where I've always been into spirituality. I've always wanted to know what was out there. I was going to meditation classes when I was 15. So I was the weird one that, like, for my birthdays, I always wanted these lecture series. And one time I went for Wayne Dyer, and it was such an inspirational series where he talked about his son had autism and how his family met him where he was in his autism, and it helped him come out of the shell. It was very inspirational. But Marianne went to that. She was the lead. And there was something later on. I never knew what happened in the drama, but later on down the road, I came across her, and I don't know, we were talking, and she was so happy to talk to me. And then she finally said, like, how do you know me? And I was like, I'm sure she thought, because she wrote those books. Can't think of her books either. And I liked her books. A Return to Love or something like that. But she was like, how do you know me? And I was like, I attended the church that you were a pastor of, and I never heard from her again. Like, she didn't even like find out if I knew or what I thought about it. She just ghosted me. Zip. I don't even know what it was that was such a problem with her in the church, but yeah. So I'm winding it down, as you know, because I'm talking about politics, which is a touchy subject, I'm sure, for everyone that is passionate about politics, but in their country. But it's that time of the every 4 years. I've learned to kind of dread our elections. But I'm somebody who has voted in every single election since I was allowed to vote. I'm a November baby, so when I turned 18, it was election year and I wasn't allowed to vote because I turned 18 before the election, but I guess you can't pre-register to vote when you're 17. But I really wanted to vote. I grew up in a voting family, and I feel like it's our constitutional right. And so I'm trying to wade through all of that mess, and I can't stand it. Is anyone else like, you can't turn around away from it? You know, I feel like you have to be aware of things, but then at the same time, it's like a fine line. I remember when I was in college, I was so disgusted with our country. And I felt like, because I was learning that nobody really, there's people that are still enslaved in our country. It's just a different kind of slavery. And so I was like, I think it was my senior year of college. There was this 4th of July celebration and I banned it. I was like, I'm not celebrating 4th of July. I just stayed up in my room. Might have been my sophomore year or my junior year. People would knock on the door. Are you coming out? Nope, I'm banning the 4th of July. Nobody cared, but I cared. Made me feel better. So I guess that's what's important. We've gotta do what makes us feel better about life. For sure, we all need to respect each other's opinions and listen to each other's opinions. And not listen with your own ideas and thoughts rolling through your brain and what you think that they might say. Just really listen. That's what I'm learning to do, is listen. I've always been a listener. People have always told me their secrets, and I've always been a listener, but I can't say that I've always not in my mind expected people to say certain things, and not really quieted that part of me. And so I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to really listen. And it can be difficult. It's difficult for me, and because of the brain bleed I had, if I don't say what I'm going to say, when the thought comes, I lose it. So sometimes when I have conversations and people are talking, I have like my phone next to me and I'll just quickly text what I want to say somewhere. And then, so I can listen and not forget what I want to say. All right. Anyway, you guys, I am so happy that you've been here with me on this Friday. Congratulations to Cat's Life for being Dragonfly of the Month for July. Thank you, Cowboy RC, for being our Dragonfly of the Month for June. I'm going to email you the gift certificate next week. Congratulations to Sherry K for winning. And yeah, woohoo! If you want to be a Dragonfly, all you have to do is hit that membership. I would love to have you, and I know my other Dragonflies would love to have you. And so I'm going to head out. Let me look at my notes to make sure I said everything I wanted to say. Yes, I think I did. This Sunday on the Highly Strange Days, we have psychic medium Joe West is going to join us. We're going to be talking about true crime cases. Of course, we're going to be throwing in the Watts case. I might even pull in the Gypsy Rose. And Idaho 4, I'm going to be doing a poll to see there's going to be like 2 cases I'm going to ask her about, and I'll let you vote on them. So if you want us, and also if there's a case that you think I should ask, you can put it down in the comments and I might include it in the poll. You never know. And that's all I have. That's absolutely all I have to say, except one more thing. You guys have certainly made a difference in my life. You have pulled me out of a depression. I'm still kind of in the depression, but I know I have you guys now, and I have a reason to get out of bed. And so you've certainly made a difference in my life, and I want to make a difference in your life. And if nobody's told you this, I'm telling you this. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for having Lee and Chris C for being my lovely wrenches. I'll see you next time. Bye, guys. Hi, guys. Welcome to Parawomenradio. I'm Amy.
Angel flew down to a tiny house on the edge of hell. Ain't no garage or a swimming pool, just a sad old friend who thinks he's cool. Angel knocks twice. She says, let me in. And then his withered old face says, where have you been? Where have you been? She says, hello. Aren't you tired of this? Tired of being here in the dark like this? Like this. And he says, no, I don't miss the light. I don't need a thing, can you say tonight?